we have our guest here with us today. But for now, let me just introduce the BINALOT Talk. So it's a weekly talk this is a weekly talk that is hosted by the Archaeological Studies program of the University of the Philippines. We usually have this while everyone is having lunch, and it's every Wednesday. However, because of the pandemic, we started doing this online. Okay. But we hope that in the future we will be doing this more in face to face. So it's a very informal talk. We have very different. We try to get more perspectives from different people. So we invite people who are doing research in history, music, art, film, and this is just to help us to maybe get some more ideas about what's happening all over the world, and maybe it serves as an inspiration to new ideas for us, especially as archaeologists. All right. But in the meantime, before we start, just a few announcements. So I think the second trimester schedule for classes is now online, so you can check out the ASP website. Okay, and for everyone who may be interested, especially those who are going to the IPPA 2022 in November, for those who submitted papers and who are first authors of their papers, you can request for a grant that will be given by Siamos PAFA in Thailand as a travel grant. All right. So the people who submitted their papers, please sign up now. The deadline is on October 21. All right. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. I'm Anna Pineda. I will be moderating this, and I'm joined by my co-moderator, Arturo JJ Tablan. And of course, our tech, Ara-1, Ara Espigar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to directly message me or Ara or JJ, whose username is Arturo Tablan. And we will begin by introducing our speaker for today, who was recommended to us by a friend from Diliman. So Meljoe Loreto is a graduate student of sociology at Diliman University in Dumaguete City. He obtained his bachelor's degree in sociology at Diliman University. His research interests include sociology and anthropology of religion, Asian studies, organizational development, and media studies. He presented his papers at various national and international conferences, and his current study focuses on the influence of religion, particularly in getting the COVID-19 vaccination in his community. He will also be presenting in UGAT 2022, so that's going to be at the end of October, yeah. All right. But for now, let's all listen to him as he gives this talk about COVID-19, about uncertainties in disasters. All right.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Ma'am Ana. Thank you sa invitation. And before I start, I think I would like to take lang the opportunity to say thank you, and also Happy Teachers Day sa lahat ng teachers. So, yan lang. So again, thank you so much for that kind introduction, Ma'am Ana. So I'll be discussing about uncertainty, especially that I focus most more on religion. So again, my name is Meljoe, and so the first thing is that, this is often asked to me, like, why religion? Why not politics? Why not gender? Why not family? So for me, religion, there's something in religion that I really like the most. For example, if we're going to talk about like politics, we can actually connect also religion and politics. Like we have what we call separation of church and state. So it's also connected between the two. If you're going to talk about like family or like marriage, there's also what we call like, or gender. We also have like LGBT, for example, same-sex marriage. So it's also connected with family. So the reason why I focus more on religion is that when I was still high school, maybe, or like high school, I usually commute going to school. And whenever I commute, I often see a lot of people holding this rosary like that. They also pray like that. And whenever we like pass by like a church, I often see, especially the older people, they do the sign of the cross. So I have this question: why do they do that? Or like, so yung situation na yun, parang nag-ignite siya na parang something sa religion. So yun yung naging interest lang, nagkaroon ng interest sa akin kasi parang yung religion kasi minsan nami-misunderstood siya, probably because we have a variety of religion and like that. Pero yung pinaka-point lang kasi talaga ng religion is that I want to focus more on sociologically or like anthropologically. Kasi pag sinabi nating religion, meron siyang question agad na pag sinabi nating ito is a Catholic, for example, INC, Protestant, and like that. So there's the variation. But the question is why? Why or anong meron sa religion? So yun yung naging interest ko. Before that, I cannot. Okay, yeah. Ito yung ano lang, survey na nakuha ko from SWS, kung gaano ka valuable yung religion sa atin. Though the result is from 2019 and 2020. Kung makikita nyo dun sa 2019, very important siya. And based din sa survey, ito yung pinaka-peak or yung pinaka-top na number na nakuha nila within the past few years. So 83%, that's really high. So doon pa lang nakikita ko na agad or nagkakaroon ako ng idea na talagang importante yung religion sa atin. Pero pagdating ng 2020, bumagsak siya ng 10%, almost 10% or 10%, 73%. So yung question na yun is bakit? Anong reason? Sabi ng SWS, one reason is that this one is like COVID-19 na to eh. So maraming church na nagsara, maraming restriction, ganun. Tapos yung survey naman nila, sabi nila doon is that parang yung mga tao is nawala ng gana pumunta ng simbahan, nawala yung interest nila, parang yung iba naman sabi ng mga respondents is parang parusa daw ng Panginoon. So parang ganun. So ako naman, yung question ko is talagang yun ba yung reason? Kasi kung makikita mo yung graph, talagang hindi consistent yung graph, pero masasabi pa rin natin na yung importance ng religion is nandun pa rin. Kung makikita nyo rin dun sa yung somewhat important, not all important, pagdating ng 2020, tumaas din yung rate. So merong something or merong kakaiba. So yun yung gusto kong malaman. And hindi ko pa nakuha yung result, parang hindi pa yata nagkaroon ng result for this year. But gusto ko lang malaman din na ano yung relevance talaga ng religion or yung importance ng religion. And since this survey is all about importance of religion, the question is, gaano ba talaga ka-importante yung religion sa atin? Sociologically or culturally, Filipinos are religious. Kasi gaya ng sabi ko, nakikita ko mga matatanda, may dala silang rosary, nagsa-sign of the cross sila. Kung nakikita din ng ibang tao nagsa-sign of the cross, nagko-connect siya. Yung iba nagsa-sign of the cross din. So merong something doon na parang nagkaroon ako ng interest na to go deeper about that kind of cultural thing. So paano ba natin ginagamit yung religion sa society? So since I'm talking about the situation of COVID-19, if we're going to go back, let's say during the EDSA revolution, they weaponize religion also for that kind of thing. They use religion to weaponize the situation para lang it's like giving also peace of mind sa mga tao kasi yun yung nagiging parang connection or passage natin when it comes to answering uncertainty. So ito, yan. Ito yung isang halimbawa lang. Way back 2020, so the president signed, it's like a national week prayer. So this is like also another example kung paano tayo mag-respond sa crisis. So ito rin yung parang nagbigay sa akin ng hint na Filipinos are really religious. Filipinos really value religion. Even if, because based dito sa proclamation number 934 is that we or the government is encouraging all people, Filipinos, to pray. This is just like to also like remember those people who sacrificed themselves during the COVID-19, like that. So eto parang weaponize na rin natin yung religion. Other than that, is like for me, there's a solidarity. Nagkakaroon tayo ng collective because of the situation na kailangan nating mag-pray. Meron din tayo, ito yung 3 o'clock prayer, for example, Catholics, there's the 3 o'clock prayer. So there's already that kind of habit, or there's already have that kind of cultural thing na ginagawa natin. So for me, it's embedded na. Nandun na yung religion eh. Yung religion is parang nakatatak na sa ating mga Pilipino. So parang ganun yung pinaka-point ng importance ng religion sa society. Pero may question pa rin is that paano ba natin talaga masasabing religious tayo? Kasi kahit ako, kung tatanungin ako, importante ba ang religion sa'yo? Oo, sasabihin kong yes, importante ang religion sa akin. Pero yung question is, paano ko masasabing importante siya? Ano yung mga reasons or key points na masasabi kong importante yung religion? So, doon agad yung papasok yung question ko na paano natin wine-weaponize, paano natin ginagamit in a manner na masasabi natin na connected siya sa atin. Ito yung ginagamit ko. This is a Santa Clara Strength of Religious Faith questionnaire. Ito yung question na ginagamit rin ng mga other professionals like psychologists, theologians, ano pa ba? Medical, yeah. Ito yung ginagamit nila to also let's say like what do you call this? Kinukuha nila kung gaano kataas yung faith ng isang tao. And based din sa mga research din na nabasa ko na ginagamit ito, almost 96% yata yung recent na nabasa ko na almost accurate siya. Kasi nagbe-blend dun sa respond ng answer ng respondent dun sa situation. So ito yung parang ginagamit ko na rin. And makikita nyo naman yung pinaka range niya is from 10. If 10 yung makukuha ng respondent, so low faith. If 40 and above, so masasabi natin na mataas yung religious faith or paniniwala ng isang tao. Which is for me, I find it also interesting din. Kasi yung iba ayaw nilang ipakita na religious sila. Though naiintindihan ko rin yun kasi yung meron tayong variation ng religion. Pag sinabi nilang ito INC ito Catholic, Protestant, so merong variation which is for me can also make it into gap. But since I focus more on sociology of religion, that doesn't mean I only focus with those churches or those congregation. I also studied like let's say Muslim people. I have a lot of friends na Muslim din na nakukuha ko rin yung idea nila or yung practices nila when it comes to religion. And though the variations are different, meron tayong iba-ibang religion, pero yung idea, yung concept is isa lang. Concept by means that paano natin ginagamit yung religion. It can be personally or it can be like in society or something like that. And like I said also, when weaponize na rin natin yung religion in different situations. Like, I don't know if na-experience nyo rin yung bata kayo, yung mga magulang natin, yung mom ko, my mom always saying, wag kang pumunta dyan, it's bad, God will punish you or something like that. So there's already the idea that religion can actually use in different situations. It's not just like for uncertainty situations like that, but in any situation, nagagamit natin yung religion. Tapos, so since I already have all these things, so ang question ko naman is paano ko siya i-apply o paano ko siya malalaman if the religion is actually really important or connected. It can be individual, it can be like in society or groups or different congregation. So religion in action, ito yung mga questions na ginawa ko, particularly dun sa situation ng COVID-19. So yeah, what are the triggering factors na ginagamit natin yung religion in times of crisis? When nagtitrigger itong mga factors? And paano or yeah, how do people resort and use religion in response to the crisis? And also how people cope and achieve solidarity in times of crisis. Reason why I also focus with solidarity because I'm focusing with the society itself. Or for example, community dito sa town ko like that. Chine-check ko rin kung nag-a-apply ba talaga yung solidarity if gagamitin natin yung religion. So first thing is that, so what are the triggering factors that made people use religion in times of crisis? So dun sa themes na nakuha ko is that yun tayong faith in God. is triggered when a person identifies their social status and feels uncertain about the situation. Based sa mga respondents ko, laging bukang bibig nila, mahirap lang ako, or meron kaming local word ito, pobre lang kami, pobre rame. It means like we're poor, wala kaming pera, panggamot, ganyan. So, ina-admit nila or parang kinakategorize nila na dito sila sa social group na to. But that doesn't mean na only for those lower class nagti-trigger yung faith in God. Kasi meron din ako na-encounter or nakausap na mga may kaya, sabi nila may pera sila, may panggamot sila, but the question is, hindi rin nila alam if magiging successful ba yung operation, for example, or especially during the COVID-19, yung media nagkakaroon din ng influence. Kasi nakikita nila ito, famous, namatay sa COVID, mayaman, namatay sa COVID, may pera, namatay sa COVID. So, yun yung din yung nagtitrigger sa kanila na kahit may pera ka, kung mamamatay ka. So parang ganun yung idea nila. So yung status ng tao, either like let's say if that person is categorizing themselves as lower class or higher class or like that, if this experience will be like what we call collective, pag naging collective yung experiences na to, ito yung nagkakaroon tayo ng or nagiging komunitas siya. Komunitas is ito yung theory na ginamit ni Victor Turner. So sabi ni Victor Turner na kapag yung society or community experiencing the same situation, they have the same social status. This social status is not really to socio-economic, but the status of uncertainty na mabubuhay pa ba sila or ano yung magiging sunod na mangyayari, ganyan. So it's like nawawala yung value ng possession nila. So kasi nga uncertain sila kahit may pera o wala, but the triggering factor is that uncertainty, hindi nila alam yung mangyayari, hindi nila kasi nga during that time Cebu and Dumaguete is also like naging hotspot siya kasi dito nagsimula yung COVID-19, especially sa Cebu. So yung mga tao dati is lang hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin nila. So nandun agad yung parang nasa limbo. Next is that when these triggering factors begin. So faith in God is invoked whenever the situation endangers their life and involves a family member. Kasi yun nga, situations hindi natin alam. Another example for this is that like for example, if I'm in a situation na hindi ko alam kung anong mangyayari next, like parang there's a situation, a life and death situation. So parang masasambit ko agad yung Panginoon, ikaw nang bahala sa akin. Ito rin yung nagiging parang coping mechanism. Na ikaw nang bahala sa akin, iaalay ko na sa iyo ang lahat, parang ganun. Ito rin yung na-encounter ko sa mga respondents ko during the COVID-19. Meron ako na-encounter or nakausap na yung husband niya is working in Cebu. Tapos during that time, stranded, hindi makauwi. So yung asawa niya iyak ng iyak kasi nga hindi niya alam kung anong mangyayari. So nandun agad, endangering life, especially if involves family member. I think culturally, yun din naman yung response natin eh. Pag naisip natin yung family member natin nasa situation or kalagayan na hindi natin alam, so nandun agad. Tapos nagiging ano na lang natin, coping mechanism is that yung God na lang yung bahala. It's like what we call providence, like guidance from God, like that. So dito rin nagki-kick in yung tinatawag natin na ritual. So meron tayong like for especially for sa mga tao na nakikita ko na encounter ko kapag may situation like for example a road accident for example, nagpe-pray agad sila, nagsa-sign of the cross, and there's always an expression here in my town that Diyos ko, Ginoo ko, so, parang ganun. Parang sinasabi agad nila yung name ng God or saint or something like that. It's like calling. They're calling the presence of God because of they don't know what happened with the situation or they don't know what will happen next. So that's the reason why it's like they try to use it in a situation that para makalm sila, coping mechanism. And according to Duff, ito rin yung situation na pag nagpe-pray tayo parang nawawala tayo sa situation na parang death, for example, like that. Ganun din. Particularly, for example, for situation yung nakikita ko sa social media, for example, like meron silang pupunta sila sa isang lugar, like madilim, ganyan, nagpe-pray sila. So parang ganun, just to guide them. So that's what we call providence. And I'd like to include lang this one because I'm also focusing with the vaccination in my town. I just want to include this because since I'm also talking with the uncertainty, I would say probably 20% maybe, 20% or 30% sa mga nakakausap ko, hindi sila vaccinated. One reason is that takot sila sa effects or side effects ng vaccine. Yung iba naman uncertain. Uncertain by means that ano ba yung benefits na makukuha nila, ganyan. So nandun pa rin yung argument ng uncertainty. Pero pag sinabi nating uncertain or yung side effects, yung last resort rin nila is pumupunta or bumabalik pa rin sila sa religious faith nila. Like for example, yung isang nakausap ko, sabi niya, kung mamamatay daw siya, tatanggapin niya. Kung ito daw yung faith na may encounter niya, tatanggapin niya. Kung ito daw yung kapalaran niya, yung parang ganon, or ito daw yung will ng God, i-accept niya. So, pero for me, in that kind of situation or respond, masasabi kong isa siyang religious fatalism. Religious fatalism is that, it's a belief that yung parang sinusurrender mo yung self mo sa divine. Yung, kasi wala ka ng choice, for example, ganyan. So, I can consider it as religious fatalism. Kasi parang kung ayaw mong mamatay, kuha ka lang ng vaccine, pero yung idea ng isang tao is that yung God na yung bahala sa kanya. So, yun yung parang inaalay na lang niya, or if that's the will, that's the will. So, parang ganon. So for me, in my observation and understanding for that, nagre-research ako as a religious fatalism. So going back is that, this one. So how do people resort and use religion in response to the crisis? So meron tayong, yung kaninang sa second part is that nagre-resort yung mga tao is for cross or pray. So rituals, there are many kinds of rituals naman, but usually for us, meron tayong pray. Yung pananalangin. Yung iba naman, meron din silang ibang response. Like, because kasi yung iba, like for example, INC or Protestant, sometimes they actually don't do the sign of the cross. They just respond immediately by praying. And for rituals, yung iba, let's say for Roman Catholics, they actually don't close their eyes. But for other congregation, like let's say INC, they actually close their eyes. So the variations of rituals are different, but the idea or the concept is still the same, that we respond using or by performing rituals. And talking about praying or rituals, ito kasi yung pag sinabi nating merong ritual, merong agang connection yung religion. So, ito din yung parang nagko-connect sa mga tao na pag nagpe-pray ako, yung iba pag nakita nilang nagpe-pray, ganun din. Parang nagko-connect siya. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na merong collective. Kasi nga same sila ng idea, same sila ng culture, like that. So connected agad. So pag ito rin yung napapansin ko, like I said, pag nagko-commute ako, pag may nakakita akong matatanda or like that, pag nagsa-sign of the cross, pag dumaan kami sa may simbahan, ganun din. Yung mga kasabay din namin, nagsa-sign of the cross. So yun yung agad, parang may connection agad. So next is this one, sinama ko ito kasi lumabas siya as themes. Themes while I'm doing the interviews, so lumabas siya as a form of coping mechanism. So enforcement of social questions. So this is like in control with the government, and also when I think the slide 3 or like that, when the prayer week. So parang ganon. Yun yung isang response din na ginagamit ng government, for example. It can be local government or it can be national. And this picture was actually taken after Odette. So, and Cebu, Dumaguete, Negros were actually affected with it. And me and my friends went to a certain place kasi may mga friends din kami and colleagues like that na affected sila ng bagyo. And the concept of ayuda I find this also really interesting is that parang connected agad, naging connection na agad siya from COVID to crisis like bagyo. So ayuda is already there. So this situation also is that natetest yung relationship ng individual with God. One reason is that why I mentioned about relationship is that, and that's the reason also why I added this one, is that for those respondents na nakakausap ko, sabi nila, punishment to ni God sa atin kasi hindi tayo sumusunod, parang ganon. Meron tayong parang tinatawag na interpersonal closeness. So yung closeness with God is that yun yung nagtitrigger para connect tayo kay God or yung relationship natin. Pero kapag feel ng rejection or divine rejection yung isang tao, doon sila pumupunta sa closeness with other people. And which is also I can consider also like the response with let's say the government, like the concept of ayuda. Kaya pag tinatanong ko yung iba, sabi nila like for example, kamusta, ganyan, okay lang ba yung situation nyo, ganyan. Laging sinasabi nila wala kasi naghihintay pa kami ng ayuda, ganon. So pag sinabi mo naman na ano yung ibang ginagawa nila, wala, ano lang, naghihintay lang talaga daw sila. So parang ganon, it's like parang nawala yung concept ng religiosity. Kasi nga natetest yung faith nila, natetest yung relationship nila with God. So I find it also interesting kasi nga in situations like this, parang nire-reject din nila yung presence ng God. Hindi na nila ginagamit yung prayer, ganun. Parang automatically naghahanap agad sila ng respond like ayuda, like that. And I think for me, baka ito rin yung naging dahilan like kung bakit bumagsak ng 10% yung SWS survey. Ayan, probably isa din yun sa reason kasi nga parang sabi nila na divine rejection, parusa to ng Panginoon. Kasi nga tayo is namumuhay sa kalayawan, parang ganun. So in response also with that, the last one is like using of technology. Social media plays important role, especially with connectivity, or like for example, if yung family member is nasa Cebu or nasa ibang lugar, so the only way that they can connect is through using social media or communication technology. And I find this interesting because though before COVID-19, meron naman tayong Sunday Mass, parang ganon, televised siya. Ngayon, meron na tayong using like Facebook Live, for example. And ito na yung nagiging parang venue para mag-pray or mag-worship. So like that. And kaya nilagay ko rin dito is yung virtual solidarity is parang nagko-connect pa rin tayo, but virtually. But the main question for this is that ano yung, or yung for example, yung going to church, is it the same with going to social media? So yun yung question ko. Based rin sa mga respondents ko, sabi nila hindi sila makaka-focus. Why? Because for example, if nag-a-attend sila ng Sunday Mass using Facebook Live, for example, hindi sila nakaka-focus kasi nga mayroon ding other hindrances or another, like for example, nag-message yung friend nila or something like that. So wala yung solemnity, solemn. Wala yun. And other than that, yung group cohesiveness, ito rin yung parang napapansin ko rin na kapag may involvement ng religion using social media, nako-collect agad yung mga tao. So ito yung isang ito, religious rituals. So yan, according to Durkheim, ni-utilize natin yung religion or religion is in action kapag yung mga tao is nagkakaroon ng collective response, like praying, like that. And for virtual solidarity, before that, so I'll just give also this one is the thematic analysis about the relationship, especially with the response, religion. So Yung sa faith in God and enforcement, so meron siyang 2 arrows kasi nga ito yung sinabi ko na parang nagkakaroon ng not really gap but also to test the relationship with God. So it can be like nagti-trigger, so pupunta agad sila kay God, nagre-request sila, pray, but if they feel a divine rejection, so pupunta agad sila sa government to ask help like that. And if they cannot also get help from the government, for example, they go back to God. So something like that. And other than that, faith in God is invoked. So we ginagamit natin yung communication to communicate with families. That communication technology, nagiging bridge din siya or passage din siya using or in the especially with the enforcement of social cohesion, for example, like wearing mask, for example, yun na rin nagiging venue natin. And yeah, basically also with this kind of analysis, nandun pa rin yung pagiging religious ng mga Pilipino. And speaking with the virtual solidarity, eto, so virtual solidarity, ito yung for me because I'm also focusing with media studies. I find it really interesting na kapag may connection agad with God, for example, that so makikita niyo yung mga comments. I think you can also see this one everywhere. Like if you're on Facebook, makikita niyo rin na yung respond ng mga tao, amen, amen, tapos may mga emoji pa. So nandun agad yung collective collective I forgot that phrase because I just derived this one from Durkheim's idea or yeah, collective effervescence. Like if same sila ng ritual or same sila ng paniniwala, sinasubmit nila yung self nila to join with the group. So parang ganun. I find this really interesting kasi kahit mag-post lang, mag-post ka lang ng about God dyan or verses like that, people will actually respond immediately. Ganyan. So for me, it's really interesting kasi yun yung collective or yun yung response na ginagamit or ginagawa ng mga tao just to be part of the group. But before they submit themselves, they need to what do you call this? They need to clarify first if they really belong to the group. So, but I would say the dominance kasi, especially now, is Catholic. The really dominance, the dominance na meron sila or influence na meron sila is that everywhere. It can be social media like that. So, and ito rin, check ko lang tong isang ano. Ito rin. So, hindi lang siya for, let's say, mass. Meron din tayong in times of disaster. Ito rin yung time na Taal volcano, Odette, there's also pray. So bakit pray agad yung ginagamit? Bakit hindi ibang phrase? So kasi nga yung pray is like parang yun yung nagiging weapon natin in any situation. And I think mapapansin nyo rin like other countries, for example, yung meron tayong Ukraine war like that. Yung iba nakikita ko yun din pray for Ukraine. Before, meron ding France, pray for France, like that. So it's always pray. So yun yung parang nagbibigay sa akin ng ideya na gaano ka-religious yung mga tao. Pero in this situation, yung question ko rin ulit is like, paano natin ma-check yung religiosity ng isang tao? Yung iba kasi nagko-confirm lang. Ko-confirm lang sila kasi yung nakikita nila. Yung response nila, kung makikita nyo, amen, amen, amen. So something like that. And what else? Yeah, hindi lang siya for situations also like earthquake or COVID like that. In any situation, people tend to conform kapag nakikita nilang they belong to the group. Kasi nandun yung parang sense of belongingness. Pag nakita nila, ito, post to about Catholic. So I'm a Catholic also. So parang ganun, nagre-respond sila. To post to about Filipino. I'm also a Filipino. So nako-confirm ko. So I also have to respond to or conform to the situation. And like I said, hindi lang siya for disaster, hindi lang siya for COVID or anything. Meron din, ito. Yeah, meron tayong sports, for example. Ito, I think this one is, yung first week yata ng COVID dito sa amin. So, merong page. So, ganun din. And like I said, it's very interesting kasi kahit mag-post ka lang ng image ng God or Jesus Christ, automatically nagre-respond sila. Kasi nga nako-confirm nila na they belong to the group. So that's the sense of belongingness. Pero the question is, for me, kung kaya nating mag-conform virtually, bakit hindi natin kaya mag-conform personally? So in my opinion for that is that it actually depends on the group where you belong. So for example, ito, kung hindi ka Catholic, magko-confirm ka ba? Hindi. So parang ganun. Meron ding iba, hindi ko lang nasama yung ibang screenshots kasi sobrang dami. Pero ito it's an example lang. Other than that, the other screenshot is for, I think this one is Olympics, yeah. So nag-confirm yung iba kasi nga Pilipino sila. So parang yung idea kasi parang ganun. Nagkakaroon ng solidarity. Other than that is that for me, this kind of phenomenon is very interesting kasi nawe-weaponize din siya ng iba. Paano makokontrol yung tao using social media, especially sa politics. I know it's also really, especially during the campaign, meron tayong DDS, kakamping, like that. So nagkakaroon din ng what we call this, like group, nagkakaroon ng groups. So same also with religion, same also with this. So but the idea is still the same. They have the same idea, they have the same ideology, they have the same ritual culture, like that. So for me, if a culture is being used or being practiced or ritual like that, nagiging part na siya ng kultura natin. So parang ganun. So for me, to wrap this up, for me, yeah, religion is really connected na sa atin. Filipinos are really religious. Hindi ko madi-deny yan. But the question is, yun nga, meron tayong factors or meron tayong mga ideas or opinions na pwede sa iba hindi. I also wrote a research about Asian studies, particularly Japan. Same also with Japan. Maraming like OFWs in Japan, nakaka-amaze din kasi kahit saan mo ilagay yung Pilipino, yung response nila for situation is ganun din. So nag-iba man yung environment, but yung practice nila is ganun pa rin. Especially Japan, we have like typhoon, earthquake for example, tsunami warning, like that. So yung mga nakakausap ko na respondents sa Japan, ganun din yung sinasabi nila. Na nagpe-pray sila, ginagamit din nila yung Facebook for example to communicate, to join Sunday Mass. So my main question for that is like I said, kasi kahit saan mo ilagay yung Pilipino, nandun yung pagiging religyoso. So I'd like to leave this question. What does it mean to be a Filipino devotee in a world that is full of uncertainty? Parang Miss Universe yun. So parang ganun. So parang ganun yung question ko. So it can be personal ba? It can be like, so yun yung still question ko. And kasi nandun yung idea ng prayer. So ganun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Okay, thank you, Meljoe, for
You're
your
welcome.
presentation. Yeah, it's this is a
Okay.
topic that seems really, really fascinating to me as someone who also has somewhat of a background in sociology. Uh, yeah, I like the fact that you took you took this really interesting topic and delved into it, with personal accounts, but also with with your study. I think that's a really fascinating thing to observe. And to sort of jump on to your last point there with your study of people in Japan, my background is Canadian, and I know that it's almost in a similar fashion than the way that you sort of
Yeah.
explained it. No matter where they are in the world, that phenomenon of relying on one another and helping one another is something that I find is really fascinating. So yeah. Now, right now we're gonna open it up the floor for questions. So again, if you want to ask any questions, feel free to either use the raise hand function under the reactions tab, and then we'll call you to ask your question live. Or if you want to send your questions in the general chat, we could read your questions aloud. But if you're a little shy, feel free to PM either me, Arturo Tablan, A Pineda, Ana, or Ara1, Ara Espegar for your questions. Yeah, so I guess while people are still sort of, digesting the contents of your presentation, I actually had a very interesting question in regards to, I guess, the expression of religiosity or lack thereof, I guess, in times of crisis. Because I know that in my studies in the intersection of I guess religious studies and archaeology, I encountered this phenomenon called apotropaic or apotropaic items, which are sort of items that are imbued with almost a sense of protection, or rather more specifically warding off against evil spirits or bad
Yeah.
luck. And I was wondering if you ever encountered that, people clinging to specific objects, specific things
Yes.
when they encounter this, in sort of and does that make sense in their worldview?
Yes. In fact, yeah. Especially for, let's say, for elder people, they have this rosary. They also have like sort of like it's like I don't know what it's called, but it's like they just wear it wherever they go. But for specifically for my Japanese studies, same also with if we're going to talk about archaeological, for the Japanese, they have this what they call omamori.
Yeah.
Yeah, that omamori is also like for me it's like also the protection. But the good not really good thing, but for me that the one thing that fascinates me about the Japanese is that the omamori is actually has variations. Like it can be for love, for let's say for career like that. So they always have this. But they said that after, or like for example, if their wish comes true, they have to they have to return it to shrine.
Mhm.
That so yeah, something like that. But for Philippines, most of the time, it depends. It depends on the, I would say, area. For example, in my area, I live near the beach, for example, like that. I've encountered a lot of fishermen that they use this seahorse.
Mhm.
They use this seahorse. They actually display it outside their house, and they actually service as like a protection, like for like that, for evil spirits, for example, like that. They also have this, it's like I don't know what it's called, but it's like the buntot ng pagi, yung tinatawag namin ng ganun. Dinidisplay din nila yun.
Mhm.
So I find it also interesting kasi nagkakaroon ng religious connection dahil lang dun sa object na yun. And whenever we talk about religion, it can be tangible or intangible. So that's why, yeah, religion is very broad. So we have to go deeper or be more specific if which part it can be like tangible, for example, or intangible things. So something like that. Okay. Nakamute. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to call on myself. Thanks for that wonderful talk, Sir Melj. In fact, that's also one of the things that I also wanted to ask you, what JJ was also asking about the religiosity. But I guess one of the things I would like to ask as well is so I had took some notes. When when you talk about religiosity, because of course, breaking down the concept of religion, there's also and of course there are rituals. Are rituals necessarily religious expressions, or are they cultural expressions, or are they also is it so that's one of the that questions. And when we trying to measure the concepts of religiosity, I think would you measure it, or the presence of religiosity? Does the SCSRFQ pertain to the Santa Clara? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
SCSRFQ pertain to identification, or and will that be commensurate to their responses? For example, they can feel that way, but they don't necessarily express it by going to church, which is one way to measure religiosity. I guess, or is there another way to do that? So
Yes, that's actually a good question, Ma'am Ana. Kasi, yes, because like when we talk about like ritual, or when we talk about like responses, that's the identity. I find it like cultural identity, like for example, signing of the cross. Majority of Catholics do the sign of the cross. That's their identity. For other religion, for example, INC, they close their eyes or something like that. They automatically pray. So that's their identity. So rituals is one way to identify which group you belong. And other than that, rituals is like it can be interpersonal. For me, if I want to be protected, like the providence that I'm saying a while ago, I can do it by myself. It's like my individual response, or individual, let's say, religiosity. Now, your question about the Santa Clara, based on the research that I've also, or some papers that are using this, is they mentioned that Santa Clara is just like to give, it's like a consciousness, or like what we call the idea. Like, do they have the idea of God, or do they have the concept of God? Do they have religion, or something like that? But for the Santa Clara is it's just like it's a tool. It's a tool that measuring also faith. Like it's not really connected with, for me in my understanding, and also what I have read, is it's not just for religiosity, but it's also for giving this person a courage. Like the Santa Clara was actually also used for medical, so like for operation. So there are some questions that like, are they going to be or like killed or something like that, or will be the operation be successful like that? So the question, or the questioner, is like giving them an idea of the possibility that will happen. So something like that. It's not really pertains to religiosity, like you have to go to church to pray like that. It's just like talking about personal, your personal opinion or personal idea about, or concept of religion, like that.
thank you for that. It's, in fact, it's an interesting, and I was surprised by that SWS survey. That survey that really shows that the people who identify as religious went down. But you're saying that it's associated to people who might believe that they might be rejected by
By God.
the divine, by the
Yeah.
uh, so, and it looks like it's a cycle, right?
Yes.
There's and considering that the country, the Philippines, I guess, our majority of the Philippines is mostly a religious
Yes.
country, or practicing a religion. Then the fact that there's, in that time of a bigger crisis, there's this what you may call rejection. But
Mm.
I'm interested as well in this concept of praying as a weapon. And but I was also thinking that, is it really, is it that like a weapon, or is it like the last resort of weapon? Because at the face of helplessness, it's associated to helplessness. There's no other thing. Because, for example, the examples that you gave, uh, the war of Ukraine, and the pandemic. So these are um, abstract notions for a lot of people, in which there is no actions for them to, there is no, they have no tangible action that they can provide. So in that sense, hitting amen and putting a pray emoji is already an action at the time of helplessness. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
For that, that's how most people respond to the situation. And for me, yeah, in my observation also is that it's like what we call conformity or social influence, because they were being influenced by the situation. Even if, like, for example, I also read before, like, for example, a lot of people, I think they're just trying to be sarcastic with that situation, that, oh, you're not Ukrainian, or why, yeah, something like that. So I find it like it's like a sarcastic response or like that. But for me, like I said a while ago, it's like becoming a religious fatalism, like we don't have any choice or like that. So that kind of idea or notion is that kicks in if all of our resources, we already know have, or we don't have any other resort, or we don't have any, like what we call resources. Like if we have, like I said also, like if we're going to talk about socioeconomic, you have money like that, but will it be successful? So like that. So it's like religious fatalism for me, because why not give it a try? For example, why not have it like in a way that we can like, especially for the vaccination, because I'm working with that right now. So like they already accepted it. That's their fate. So if that's God's will, then they will accept it. So for me, it's like religious fatalism. They don't have any choice, even if there are a lot of choices, but they will reject it, because the idea of they owe their life to God. So that's what we call religious fatalism. And one response for that, like also for example, hindi ko lang nasama, or I wasn't able to include it in the slide. Like I made a it's like a social experiment when I posted a picture of candle, and many people already respond, what happened, condolence, like that, pray also. So that's it. Also when I try to post picture or image of God, or Jesus Christ to be exact, same, amen, amen. So there's a recognition, and that recognition also, they confirm that they know this person, or this is familiar to them, or like that. So they immediately respond or conform to the situation.
In the imagery, so the imagery invokes a particular response, so it's already a social, I guess it's like the candle already, uh it's like already a symbol that something happened, right? So
Yes.
by, I guess that's also standardization of the, which is I find interesting, because this is social media, and it's like the beginnings of the, like, the nuclear war weapon, things
Yeah.
like that. So the how symbols are utilized without saying anything, without typing anything or posting anything, just the symbol of a candle or the symbol of a religious symbol can be can evoke a
Mm.
response that looks like it's similar across the board. So
Yes.
that's a very interesting point. And actually, I'm also interested in this. And I'm surprised again. I'm really surprised by the SWS name. So I actually had to do a quick Google for it, and then is it that also the results also surprised me, that religiosity goes. Am I correct in this? That religiosity goes up if there's if at the if the community is at the peak of their health. Okay.
Yes.
So, uh, okay.
Yes. 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 Let's go ahead, Anna.
I don't know. I was I That's totally surprising to me. Uh, maybe it's just me that thought that there in times of crisis there will be more religiosity. But what you're showing in the SWS and what's looking like it's what's happening across the in many situations, that uh if it that religiosity actually goes up when communities are in good health and there's
Mhm.
abundance of health. So this is a new thing. Is it only happening here, or was this also, are there also historical uh, evidences or comparisons?
In terms of comparison, I can actually compare it with, like let's say for Western countries, if there are situations like, let's say, involves crisis, for example, they actually turn to like becoming religious or like that. One reason is that, yeah, same. It's like a religious fatalism. I was also surprised with that, because it's like, I don't know if it is like coincidence or something like that, because during that time it's the peak of the COVID-19. And based also with what I've gathered is that this is like the test of relationship with God. That because many people during that time, they actually try to reject religion, Like they would say that God is not protecting us, God is not true, or like that. The existence of God is not real. So those are the questions, or those are the responses. Other than that, it's like they also mentioned that since the government is trying to like maintain cohesiveness, they try to like the order to close religious church, or like the churches like that. So it's like the faith is slowly fading.
But
So yeah.
in 2020 there was the law or the
Ah,
signed
okay.
by the
Yes.
previous president, the national prayer of,
Like,
which also makes me think that
mm,
a week of prayer, a national week of prayer, does it include any type of prayer? Like, can I pray to anyone? Let's
yes.
strike this off sa sa YouTube.
For this, it's like based on the what do you call this, the proclamation. It's just like to call for solidarity in any religious group, whatever prayer you have, and you can actually do that. It's just like a response also for the situation. So
Is it?
yes.
No, go ahead.
I also forgot to include, like during this time, because I also really interested also how we respond, or generally how people respond to the situation, is that though I don't usually use this one as a major evidences like the Google Trends like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you're going to type like prayer for COVID like that, or any calamities, for example, yeah, it will actually have a highest peak during that situation.
Okay.
No, yeah. Mhm.
So it's not necessarily that because that's what I was reading earlier, that uh, religiosity goes up when the health also goes up. So
Mm.
if it means that everyone is healthy, but what you're saying is that there should a crisis, fatalism, religious fatalism, and crisis can that crisis can lead to religious fatalism, which is something that I guess it makes sense. Um, yeah, and again about the weapon. Sorry, I have a lot. This is an interesting talk.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
it, when you were talking about the weaponizing, and then you again going back to that the government,
Mm.
uh, national prayer
Prayer week.
and prayer week, and I'm also wondering if it's associated to um, not necessarily weaponizing, but it's the same as the government, or I don't know if it's solidarity or you would. It's I mean the words, of course, it's solidarity, but can based on the reactions of the people that there's crisis, there's the rejection, they're now looking for interpersonal relations
Mm.
and religiosity. Religiosity. They feel that they are rejected by God, and then this is they're now looking for the government. But as a government, the response is now turn to God. So it's
Yes.
just it's like I'm worried that this might be, I don't know, going to be the response instead of
Yeah,
action
a
based.
vicious cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of call to action, uh call to let's do something about this. I don't know. This uh
Ye- Yes, that's actually true. Especially when we went to a certain town after Odette. Yeah, people actually they also have this what we call this like hopelessness, especially when we talk about like local government. When the local government also mentioned that they cannot give like ayuda like that, a lot of people try to look for other possibility that they can actually ask for help. Like for example, they try to ask help for, especially for people that are traveling like that. In terms of that, I would say I can actually use the word bayanihan maybe, because there's no intervention with government, there's no intervention with religion. It's just like the people itself. So we're trying to do it by ourselves. It's like I will help this one because this is my kababayan, this is my yeah, friend, for example, like that. We don't need government to help. I don't need God. That's what they're also saying. So it it actually connects also with the community. So the solidarity of community is there because they try to reject all those possibility or what they really used to. Especially when we have also problem with some LGUs here when they cannot also give ayuda to those severely affected with the typhoon. So yeah, and many neighboring towns like from Bacolod, Cebu, or other towns, they actually help. So from God to government to person, so to individual, that's how they actually it's like a cycle or turn into one thing to another.
All right. I guess there are some other questions. I have one more, and I think because it's time check, it's already 2:06. And this is something that I've also been chatting with other people in the background. So sometimes I would be chatting, and then they would give some good points. So one of them mentioned that is this not is it possible that in the times of what did they say? Does religiosity, especially in the Philippines, fall when there is good times?
Okay. Yeah, that's also a good question because it's like if we're feeling good, it's like we live at the moment. We
Okay.
don't we actually don't ask for help because yeah, we feel good. But it only triggers if we're in the situation of crisis. So something like that. So basically religiosity comes in, or religion in action, if we only feel that we have the divine rejection
Mhm.
like that.
Okay. And will is this also true? I guess is this also true in among communities that don't that where religion is not high during the time before the time of crisis, or there's
Mm,
no religiosity among the people in a small community, I
yeah.
guess, because you have the SWS showing
Mm, yes.
that.
Yeah, that's also my question for the SWS because I really don't have any information also if the respondent is in one community also, if the respondent is also like in the same social status, for example. But in my
Yeah, yeah.
community, yeah, I try to ask also different people in different socio-economic or like that
Mhm.
social demographics. So for me, yeah, because this kind of practice, like they go to church every Sunday, it's already there. It's cultural thing. So if there's a situation also like for example crisis, it actually went high for them. So it's like they have this idea that anytime God will punish us in a situation that we will not conform like that. But for me, in my observation also for that, there's actually a decline. If we're going to talk about social demographics like that, only those people like age group adults, let's say, so adults, they have this peak religiosity. But for adolescents, for example, like 30 below, they actually went down. So it depends on the social demographic or like the age group like that. Age group like for adults, they can actually influence the younger ones, especially like for their if their parents is really religious, they try to convince and like that. But if I try to connect also with like for youth, no, it actually went down.
I guess it's also depending on where you will be asking. And you're right, it's affected by the social demographics and the community that people, the surrounding people. I mean, you'll probably have different results when you're asking within an urban setting versus the rural
Yeah.
setting. So that's also influential. Okay. I think there's no more questions from on my end. JJ, how about you?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm
All right.
it's a really exciting project to see happen.
Are you thinking of this is already published? Is,
One is hopefully after the ugat.
I
After
see,
the
I see.
ugat.
All right. Okay. So that would be interesting. So we'll invite you again if there are other,
Sure.
if you have other talks. I'm sure that there's a lot more, especially when it comes to something like this. And there will be more ideas that we can hopefully share with us. But for the meantime, I think that for that's it for today. There, I cleared my chat, the questions from my chat box already. And for now, that's thank you very much, Melj, for giving the time. For next week, we're still waiting for our speaker to confirm. So we'll let you know if we will have a BINALOT talk next week. So feel free to like or share our Facebook page. Just look for BINALOT Talks, or alternatively, you can also look for the Facebook page of the Archaeological Studies program and check out all the relevant information. In 2 weeks from now, we also invited Kurt Tandog from the University of the Philippines, Mindanao, and hopefully Ruchi will also be giving a talk about, I think, also pertaining to historical disasters. So this is something that looks like the recurring theme of this for this month. All right. But for now, we would like to thank Sir Melj for giving this wonderful talk, and to everyone who listened. We will be hopefully putting the recording for this on YouTube very soon. So you can also check out our YouTube page. Just search for the Archaeological Studies program YouTube channel, and you will see other talks about from the past BINALOT talks, and you can check out the myriad of other talks that we've had for the past 2 years during the pandemic, and hopefully you will want to volunteer. So we will, but for now, I think we will end this talk, and thank you so much, Melj, and thank you everyone. We will see you hopefully next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will send you a certificate soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.